Hello and welcome to episode 415 of the Yellowwallpod. I'm your host Stefan Botzko, and today we will talk about Dortmund's unsuccessful trip to Munich, the Straßenbahn derby against VfL Bochum, transfer rumors, and more. And as you can see, dear YouTube watchers, I'm joined by Matthias Zug. Hello, Matthias. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. It's not a static profile pic, so it's. I don't know if it's an improvement, but I'm here. How's it going?
Yeah, it's going well. I was just going to say it's going well, but then I remembered it's Thursday and the 76ers play tonight, and I'm nervous, and it's not. It's maybe not going well. But Matthias, 76ers is a good point in my case because that game slightly overlapped with the Bayern game, so I didn't watch it in full length. I switched it off pretty much after Zagadou decided to dribble inside and pass the ball to Joshua Kimmich. So yeah, it's I feel like I've missed a lot of drama, but thankfully you are here to talk me through it. Obviously, the lineup was interesting. We said we saw Ranier in it for the first time, for example, and obviously a center back pairing with Zagadou and Akanji, and a back four also with Wolf in it. So, interesting lineup. What do you make of the choices that Rose made, considering the constraints he had from injuries?
Well, I mean, it's kind of been the theme this season, not just for Borussia Dortmund, but just in general. I mean, you kind of got to do what you got to do with who you have when you have it and hope for the best. And overall, not bad. It's weird because, I mean, we're going to talk about Zagadou, but I think he put together the most competent lineup he could put together under the circumstances given.
Yeah, I don't really disagree much. I mean, if you look at the bench, it was almost just under 19 players, and I'm surprised that the game was as competitive as it was when we really talk about it. I mean, the first goal that Bayern scored was pretty much also their first real big chance, and that was a set piece. I mean, it was a nice header by Goretzka, and then Gnabry, I think it was, had an excellent finish. Dortmund not really closing him out whatsoever, so that was super annoying, especially since it was yet another set piece goal, but other than that, I thought Dortmund had a decent start, as they so often have in Munich. And then the all goes awry. I think there was another offside goal where Dortmund were really lucky because Marius Wolf just basically fluffed it.
Yep.
And we had a couple moments in between, but nothing too big. And then Robert Lewandowski with the, I don't know if you want to call it dagger already, if it's 2-0, but it felt very deflating because it was a very self-inflicted goal. I mean, I've already talked about it, but Zagadou was under a bit of pressure. The passing lane to his center back partner was cut off, and instead of passing it just back to Kobel, Hitz, my bad.
Different Swiss guy.
Yeah, different Swiss guy. I nearly forgot that Hitz played instead of Kobel. He tried to dribble inside, and you can see that Kimmich really anticipated the pass to Emre Can. He was already running before Zagadou even knew he was going to pass that ball. So, very unfortunate. And to me, Matthias, it's also very annoying because this is a sort of mistake you do not expect from a Borussia Dortmund center back whatsoever. And I don't know if you want to call it clumsy or silly or moronic. I don't know what the perfect way to describe it is, but I think it's not good enough for Dortmund standard. And also for Dan-Axel Zagadou, who, yes, was out for a very long time with countless injuries this season, but I think he needs to be better at this point. And the fact that he isn't gives me question marks around his contract extension that I think is fighting for. It's just sad to see because it's such an unnecessary thing. And if you're a center back and you look where you're passing, you pass straight into a passing trap like this. Yeah, it's not really excusable in my view.
Well, I mean, I've made my opinion on Zagadou well known a few times on this podcast. I think he's past the stage of saying, "Oh, he's talented," because it doesn't matter anymore at his age. This isn't the first time. It's not even the only time in this game that he just doesn't show up. He doesn't perform properly. And what's interesting is twice a week right now, I get to watch my son, who's 11 years old, play basically rec league football here. And, it's not an academy. It's basically just local club. And I see a lot of the same defending amongst the 10 and 11-year-olds that I see from Zagadou at times. Also, when it comes to Bayern's third goal, that, Hitz, well, my opinion is Hitz isn't a very good keeper. Yes, he had one really good save in the match, but other than that, I have zero confidence when he's in goal. And on that third goal, he fluffed it. Zagadou just basically stood there, didn't move, didn't jump. He's been out jumped a few times over the last few seasons, which when you look at the frame of the guy, I just don't understand how that's even possible. And he gets flustered too quickly. He's a little too lax. And what I used to rate about him, which I thought, he had a pretty high footballing IQ when it came to passing and playing out the back. I'm starting to question that more and more because that was not good. That was really, really, really bad. Worst case scenario, just punt the ball away and be done with it in that type of a situation. Even players that are highly capable of passing out of the back, Mats Hummels, in a situation oftentimes like that, he'll just boot it forward because at the end of the day, that is your best I guess your best tool, your best weapon you have as a defender is worst case scenario, just clear your line and then reorganize. And against Bayern, you should know better. The problem is Zagadou against Bayern has a questionable track record when it comes to Bayern matches. So it was really unfortunate. Like you said, Marius Wolf got saved by the offside flag because his was actually worse, in my opinion. I mean, that was just like, oh my God. But then, and Dortmund also just got outplayed, got outpressed in the first half. Second half, things changed. And the one statistic that I've mentioned a few times that bothered me in games like, say, against Fürth or Mainz is that Dortmund got outpressed. And in this match, Dortmund actually outpressed Bayern. They had more pressures than Bayern. And that really changed in the second half. And I don't know what Rose said or did, the tweaks. I didn't pay that. I don't, when Dortmund play against Bayern, it's like Dortmund against Schalke. I don't look at the tactical nuances from the outside looking in just because emotionally you're far too wrapped up in the game. Whereas against other opponents, I'm more capable of looking at that.
Right.
But Dortmund just played more aggressively. They played with more focus. I mean, in that first half, Dortmund didn't play poorly. Bayern just played better. And there weren't a lot of decent Dortmund looks at goal. Whereas in the second half, that changed completely. And Haaland had a few opportunities. Reus had a few opportunities. And then, of course, there were the penalties, both given and not given.
I saw the penalty, the one that wasn't given the next day. And oh my God. But yeah, let's talk about this in a minute because obviously it's always easier to have to outpress your opponent if you have fewer possession because you have more opportunity to chase after the ball, I guess. But nevertheless, I've heard and seen about the different swagger after the halftime. What's of the pressing improved actually, because in the first half, if you watch a lot of Bayern games, opponents play very negatively against Bayern. They park the bus and they usually don't even come across the halfway line. And what Dortmund do well against Bayern, opposed to a lot of other teams, is that they play them around the entire pitch. They don't just, sit back and crawl into their shell and wait for Bayern to attack, and then you have one wave of Bayern attack after another. That's usually not the case. The Dortmund-Bayern games oftentimes are very open. Obviously, there have been instances where Dortmund too are just coming to the pressure and can't really free themselves and play themselves out of the back. But right now, this Bayern team, Matthias, I don't know how you see it, it's not at the peak of its capabilities. And
no,
I think we saw that, and obviously it's annoying that Dortmund still managed to lose that game. But then again, we have a lot of excuses when it comes to injuries and also just down to form. I mean, if you look at all the chances that Erling Haaland had, I think if he's really in form and not, having a weird ankle injury that does not get any MRI imaging, I think he puts one or two away, and then that obviously already changes the dynamic of the game. I don't know what gear Bayern could have found, considering it was a game where they obviously wanted to wrap up the title, but still, I think Bayern were beatable or drawable on this day, and Dortmund failed to capitalize, and not getting that second penalty, which is a slam dunk penalty, is obviously really frustrating and annoying. And the Bayern bonus, the much cited Bayern bonus, is alive and well yet again. It just boggles my mind that we have two games between Dortmund and Bayern this season. There's big refereeing controversy both times, and this one I think was even more blatant than the whole Zweiergate, if I'm honest, because I don't know how the video referee does not help his referee on the field and tell him that this is a clear penalty, because Pavard obviously fouls Jude Bellingham there, and then he plays the ball because his leg ricochets off Bellingham's chin. Yeah, I can see how in real time you see Pavard playing the ball, but it takes literally one highlight or one slow motion and you see instantly that this was a foul and a penalty. And I mean, the other one, the other somewhat controversial thing, where I think was it also Pavard who then...
It was Pavard at the basically in the middle of the pitch.
Yeah, Julian Brandt's ankle. I can see the explanation, because the referee after the game the next day, I think in Kicker made the explanation that he didn't see that particular foul on Julian Brandt because the ball rolled into the direction where it would probably roll if Pavard actually played the ball. And I don't know if that's a red card. He himself said that should have been a yellow card. But maybe reviewable, maybe not. I don't know. But in terms of the penalty decision, it's just endlessly frustrating in that regard. I'm just really glad I didn't watch it live, because my head probably would have just exploded. Matthias, maybe we need to discuss the VAR once again in more general terms, because once again we've been let down big time.
Yeah, I mean, as you know, I'm a proponent in theory of VAR.
Yeah, so am I.
I think anything that makes the game fairer and alleviates clear bad calls is good for the game.
Yeah, maybe that one offside goal would have stood otherwise.
Yeah, and whether or not it takes 10 seconds or a minute or 30 seconds, I'm past that. I don't even care. I think that's a non-argument at this point. VAR is here to stay, and it's not going anywhere. What I just don't understand is the arbitrary nature of the video assistant jumping in when yes, when no. And in a penalty situation, in my opinion, it should always be the video assistant going, hey, Daniel Siebert, go take a look at this. And then he goes to the side, takes a look at it, and makes the call. He basically gets to review his own call again. Versus the VAR just saying, we're going to take a look at it. Nah, it's all good. Which, by the way, is utter bullshit. I mean, I don't understand. I mean, if you want to get away from conspiracy theories when it comes to Bayern getting the benefit of the doubt 100% of the time, then you actually have to address that. This does not do that. And Daniel Siebert on the next day said, yeah, both situations were mistakes.
Yeah. But it's mind-boggling. How the hell, Matthias, is it that every time the next day on Kicker you read, oh, well, Dortmund mistreated. You know, how many times?
The problem that Daniel Siebert has, I mean, the one in the middle of the pitch, again, I don't know if exactly that's something that VAR can jump into or not. But that's not a game-changing situation. This is a game-changing, league-changing situation. And I'm going to protect Daniel Siebert a little bit, because if VAR doesn't tell him to take a look at it and VAR says it's all good, he has no transparency. He has no way to go, are you sure?
Yeah, this is solely on the video system referee.
Purely on that, and it's not the first time.
It was Marco Fritz, by the way.
Yeah, that Dortmund have been just screwed, just completely hosed. And there's somebody on this podcast who pointed out on Twitter that had in both those Bayern games, the calls been different, and Dortmund, who were in the ascendancy in both situations in the game, had gone on to win both games, we would have a tied situation at the top of the Bundesliga table. So, yes, Dortmund, there are games where they've dropped points, where they shouldn't have dropped points, blah, 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 blah. It doesn't matter. This is the head-to-head. This is a 12-point swing in the table.
Yeah, exactly. The 12 points of difference right now.
Yeah, if these games stay as they were, and even if Dortmund had made up some of the points in games where you're like, they really should have beaten this team or beaten that team. Yeah. But it still wouldn't have been the 12 points, because Bayern still would have been ahead.
Yeah.
This is the direct swing. And that's where I get so angry. And I think a lot of people get angry, because it's like, how can you not argue that they look the other way, literally, when it comes down to Bayern?
I mean, the other year with the Boateng handball, same thing. That also was title race deciding.
Yeah.
You know,
and that was the 2 point. That was Favre's first season. Was it Favre's first season?
I think so.
I don't remember. But yeah, I mean, either way, these are the games where it comes down to it, because you're swinging 3 points each way. I mean, it's a six points both times. It's the classic 6-pointer, and that's what this is. But now we're talking 12, and that's the gap. And you're going into the final 3 matches of the Bundesliga season, and the season was decided. Not entirely, because of course Dortmund, yes, they could have won other games.
Still a 6-point gap, if my math.
Exactly. Okay, both are a draw. It's a 6-point gap with 9 points left to play for. The season isn't over yet. And because of VAR's non-calls, that changed. Yeah. And yes, Dortmund had opportunities in both games. I don't care. It doesn't matter anymore. This is too big to not do it. I mean, it's like for the years of Ribéry getting away with not getting red carded.
Yeah.
Or the Champions League final.
Yeah. Where Ribéry would have been sent off, and Dante surely needs to go.
Yes. I mean, the problem is also I watched Serie A.
About it, but I mean, how many times did Dortmund play in the Champions League final and then getting hosed by the ref against Bayern again? You know, it's just it's a wound that reopens like every 5 minutes when you watch a game between Dortmund and Bayern.
Yeah, and you know, it's basically, if you watch Serie A, Juventus over the decades has always gotten the call. You know, if you watch La Liga, you see Barcelona and Real Madrid getting the calls versus other ones. Historically, you maybe could have said Real Madrid got the calls, but you can't make that argument anymore. It's, you know, big teams get big calls. Yeah. That's just a fact of life. But when you have VAR, where you can review these specific situations, that shouldn't be the case. Do referees sometimes have tendencies, they're human in games, to call more one way or another, especially if they do or don't like a team or player? Yes. It's unfortunate, but it's true. But when it's VAR, when everyone can see it,
yeah,
this is not interpretation. This isn't like the interpretation of a handball rule from years past. This is a clear, Jude Bellingham was fouled by Pavard. It's a penalty, stone cold, period, no discussion.
I mean, you even had Stefan Effenberg, of all people, calling it a scandal the next day in Doppelpass. So if even he's right up about it. And I mean, yeah, you talked about my tweet, and I just want to highlight here that I am not lobbying for fair treatment. I'm lobbying for preferential treatment toward Dortmund. I just want to make it clear because I just wanted to highlight, yes, if Dortmund win both games, the Bundesliga right now on this match day would be tied. You know, Bayern would still have the better goal difference. But if you want to market your league, is my argument, just give Dortmund the benefit of the doubt rather than Bayern. And then if Dortmund win the games, and we surely will not complain if we get a doubtful penalty call for once and Bayern don't have theirs, basically made a no call. No complaints on my side, that's
after 30 plus years of it going the other way, of course not.
No, there need to be so many consecutive calls and games where Dortmund have some preferential treatment before I call it even. So no, but I'm just saying, it's asinine. Bayern are so dominant as they are. The fact that then on top of it all, they get this. I don't know if it's preferential treatment. I don't know if it's a Bayern bonus. Probably not. It's just human error. But nevertheless, it is.
Yeah, but that's not human error. The Marco Reus
you really
thing.
Think there's more of a tin head thingy going on?
Yes, absolutely, 100%. I mean, the Marco Reus situation from the first match. Okay, maybe you can interpret it the other way. Maybe this you can't. You just can't. There is no reinterpreting what happened there. There is just not. Just like with Jerome Boateng, there is no interpreting that.
No, absolutely not. What really got me though is Siebert, I think, explained in Kicker that he did not point to the spots in the Bellingham versus Pavard scene. And now I don't know if you read it too, but his explanation was that he had a bad experience once when he called a penalty for Bayern in the cup final against Bremen, which also was a high-profile game. I think it was Coman against Gebre Selassie, where it clearly was not a foul, but he was fooled by Bayern, by the diving Coman, and pointed to the spot, and that obviously also tilted the game very much into Bayern's favor. So, because he screwed up and gave Bayern preferential treatment in, I don't know when that cup final was, 2009.
It was a long time ago.
2016, I don't know. Now we get preferential treatment for Bayern again. The other way around. It's just funny how these things happen.
Well, then he shouldn't be a referee. He should be fired today. He should never call another Bundesliga game again. He's also the guy, by the way, who did not send Kimmich off for that stamp on Jadon Sancho's foot in the Super Cup. Which also but I'm sorry. Egregious. If you say, I'm not going to call a penalty in that situation because I once called a penalty incorrectly pre-VAR. Well, he said that back then he called it not being like 100% sure. Now he only calls the slam dunk penalties. I mean, at least Dortmund did get the one penalty, I think. Well, I mean, that was like, come on. I mean, that was so obvious. There's no, there. I mean, there's no conjecture. But the problem I have with Zibat there, so here's the problem with VAR in that situation. Referees are told if you're not 100% sure, don't blow the whistle. It's kind of like with the offside. Even though the linesman knows it's offside, it's like, even if they're like 3 meters offside, they won't wave the flag until everyone's run another 20 feet. And then they'll raise the flag because of VAR and all this, which I think we can all agree, if it's that blatant, just raise the flag, stop them from running. But, they're told if you're not 100% sure, just don't blow the whistle. VAR will correct it, right? But VAR got it wrong. But at the same time, if he's saying because he gave a penalty once where he wasn't 100% sure, he's not if he's not 100% sure, he's not going to give a penalty.
I mean,
but
correct.
VAR would correct it then the other way too, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
it baffles me that's the discussion. But then at the same time, in a penalty, anything in the box, anything that could go one way or another, give a goal, don't give a goal, give a penalty, not give a penalty. If VAR looks at it and goes, because VAR didn't just look at it for a glance. I mean, it took a little bit before they basically said, don't worry about it. If VAR has a, we're not sure, then the referee should go to the sideline and take a look at it. Period. Because then it's all on the ref.
Yeah.
To correct their own decision.
I mean,
or
if,
not.
If it's like this, I mean, I've seen the replays in 3 or 4 angles, and to me, you don't even need the on-pitch review because it's that clear of a penalty. But yeah, I still think that especially in the high-profile games, referees should often go to the review area and take another look for themselves, because it's always better that they themselves then have the confidence in their own decisions rather than rely on Marco Fritz, because obviously that dude is highly unreliable. Well,
I mean, that's how the NFL works.
Yeah, but just think about if you're Daniel Siebert, you are now the guy talking to kicker. It should have been Marco Fritz talking to kicker and explaining himself, really. Yeah. And I mean, now the referees have taken drastic actions and created a video system refereeing boot camp, so to speak, before the final 3 match days in the Bundesliga, because apparently and clearly they're also not very happy with their own performance, and how can they be? I mean, it's been shambolic, and we haven't even talked about the potential improvements. I still think that referees should absolutely announce the calls in the stadiums, and since every Bundesliga stadium has high resolution video walls, I'm also 100% for it to play the replays, the live feed of the VAR referee. If there's a review, you need to show it to the audience on the video screens. See, because the transparency, is not as good as it can be, and other leagues do it much better.
Other sports do it much better.
Other sports do it much better, and I think it's also very simple to sync the live feed of the VAR room to the stadium screens. And I mean, when you're standing in the stands, I think you actually need to see even more what the VAR is reviewing in terms of priority of people that need to see it than the TV audience, because you've literally paid to go to the game, and I think you literally need to know what is going on, because oftentimes, you have no idea what happened, and all of a sudden the referee halts a play, touches his ear, and then you're just standing there and have no clue, and then they decide on a penalty, but no one explains to you what happened. And then maybe if the stadium Wi-Fi is good enough, you can go on Twitter or whatnot and then check what happened. But I think for football watching experience, that's just not good enough. That's my view.
I agree.
So should we move on? I mean,
yes.
The highlight of the game, so to speak, was that Jamie Bino-Gittens got about 30 or 27 minutes or something like that. Mm-hmm. And obviously, he is the exciting young talent. When Dortmund signed him, we've already talked about him, that he was obviously going to play for the under-19, but it was clearly formulated that that was sort of a year or year and a half, and then he will join the professional team. And now he was subbed on against Wolfsburg, albeit very late, and you couldn't really see anything with the 10 seconds he had left on the field. But against Bayern, I think I saw the compilation that some people put together on Twitter, and to me it looked very promising. He had one really nice Hollywood pass, where I think, was it Haaland who couldn't finish that? But nevertheless, skipped past a couple opponents. It's just the player profile that Dortmund absolutely need. You need a fast player that can beat players one-on-one, And if he then has playmaking attributes and score goals, even better.
Reminds me of someone.
Yeah.
Anyway.
But since you actually saw it live and not just in 5-second clips a piece, please tell me what your first impressions were of the young Englishman.
Very, very positive. Again, kind of, teasing or alluding to Jadon Sancho is not without reason, because same basic profile initially. It's still, obviously it's way too early to say anything beyond what you see there. You got to see it over multiple matches. We've been through this before. Jadon Sancho had his slumps. Christian Pulisic had his slumps. Gio Reyna had his slumps. Jude Bellingham has yet to have a slump, I must add. He has it occasionally within a game, but overall,
he has mini slumps, but like every other player.
He's insane.
Yeah, okay, Marco Reus has slumps. He's not young anymore.
No, but what was positive is he got thrown into the deep end against Bayern. This isn't a game against, I was going to say Wolfsburg, but I guess he did play against Wolfsburg. But, it's not against a team where, the pressure is a little bit lower or the quality is a bit lower.
And
this is against Bayern.
By that time, the game was actually still open. It was only 2-1.
Correct. So the confidence for Marco Rose to put him in there and be like, okay, he's my best option off the bench right now to make a difference, says a lot. And on top of that, he didn't seem fazed by it at all. He didn't make the silly mistakes that sometimes young players do in situations like that, facing off against Bayern in Munich in a packed house, where they're trying to wrap up the title, and the pressure's on, so to speak, and Dortmund were in the ascendancy in the game. All of that speaks for him. So I liked his pace, physical ability, which I expect from a young player. Touch looked good. His confidence to play passes like that says a lot. Now, of course, we'll have to see, given more time. I would like to see him play from the start in the next 3 games, because odds are Dortmund are going to wrap up finishing second. They're 9 points up for grab. Dortmund, I believe, are 8 points clear of third place. And so, odds are you're going to get a point out of the next 3 matches. So why not throw him in there, play the full 90, or at least start the game, and have more for the rest of the season for us to really kind of judge him. Granted, pressure's going to be off a little bit. Also, because Bochum aren't really playing for anything. They're not going to be relegated. They're not going to Europe. So it's the right time to try something like that without completely overwhelming him. We've seen players also be overwhelmed by situations. So I think the future looks really, really bright. It's a position now that you and I have talked about, or a profile of a player we've talked about, where we don't know if Dortmund needs to buy one for next season. I would say no, he's there. Just have to showcase him, play him, and ideally he is not as fragile as Gio Reyna.
Yeah, I mean, Gio Reyna was going to be my answers of players that are somewhat similar in the fact that they actually can win a dribble. Daniel Malen can do that. Yep. He doesn't utilize it near often enough, in my view. And of course, Karim Adeyemi, should he join, and it looks more and more likely, is that kind of player who's more of a playmaking winger, if you will, who can dribble, but also fast as heck. So yeah, I think it's really nice, because I think Bino Gittens, and I mean, we are, let's say, experts when it comes to young talents, just by being Dortmund fans and watching so many youngsters come through the ranks. And I think you can often instantly tell whether you have a hit on your hands or not. The only time Luka Gil was massively wrong was with Emre Mor.
But a lot of people were wrong with
Emre Mor really did have the talent, but never developed the tactical discipline.
Not here.
Yeah.
Not in the noggin.
No.
Highly unprofessional.
But apart from that, I think you can very often instantly, I mean, almost with any new signing, but especially with young kids, that are just so talented. With Gittins, you see it too. The touch he has, the balance, the way he positions his body. You don't need to be a football scout to see it at that point. You need to be a football scout to see when they are 13, 14, I guess. And from that project to the future and where they can go, obviously. But no, the way he's playing is very positive, and I think it's very exciting for us because I think there was instantly the news that when he turns 18, his contract will extend automatically more or less for 3 years. So exciting times. He can be the difference maker in the future for Dortmund, just like Jadon Sancho was. Maybe he needs another season or so to get really to the level to be a consistent starter for Dortmund. But obviously, right now, it looks like Dortmund can have him as a difference maker, but don't have to have him as a difference maker going forward because of the other signings they are probably making. And he is just hoping that Gio Reyna will actually recover from the muscular injuries next season. It's always there with a bit of an asterisk, but when it comes to the attacking midfield, which to me is not the main focus this transfer window, but nevertheless, having someone like Gittins to me is just instantly exciting, and I fully 100% agree with you. Dude needs to start against Bochum.
I think why not? Might as well.
Yeah.
I mean, literally both teams have nothing to lose at this point.
No, I mean, who's chasing us with 8 points? It's Leverkusen. You think they're going to win out? There's no chance in hell. And I mean, RB Leipzig are 9 points away from us. I don't know what their goal difference is. I think it's slightly better than us, but I have a hard time believing that if Dortmund play Bino Gittins that they then can't beat Bochum. I think it's actually increases Dortmund's chances to beat Bochum.
But they can at least get a point out of 3 games.
Yeah. I mean, Bochum also only had 1 win in the last 5 games, which came against Hoffenheim. Other than that, they lost to Gladbach, who are not in great shape. They had a scoreless draw against Leverkusen, fair enough. Then they lost 3-0 against Bochum, and just recently they lost to freaking Augsburg, who are also in 14th now. I think Augsburg just very late in the season saved themselves. I don't know.
That was a weird game.
Yeah, Bochum has 36 points. Stuttgart have 28. So I don't think there's going to be any danger for Bochum this season. Plus, after the 1-1 draw, it's a derby game, and I have sympathies for Bochum because they're a close city and they're a non-threatening rival really for Dortmund. So you can have sympathy for them.
Kind of like Schalke.
Yeah, it's different. Historically, just
of course.
But nevertheless, I've went to many Bochum games myself. I love the stadium. I love the bratwurst and currywurst they have on offer there. So I personally find it great that they're in the Bundesliga, and even better, they're staying in the Bundesliga ahead of teams like Lars Windhorst funded Hertha or Stuttgart or Bielefeld.
Yeah.
So a great story for Bochum. Obviously, the second year might be much harder for them. But still, as a VfL Bochum to even make it a whole season and survive it is fantastic news. And just for the long-term future of their club, it's just very welcome because they can very much use that extra TV money they get. I mean, they're just like 1 point of VfL Wolfsburg at this point. If you think about this, the discrepancy of Volkswagen money versus VfL Bochum money, it's just mind-blowing. So good on them. But yeah, the question mark is obviously who will play for Dortmund, Matthias, because I think Emre Can is now suspended as well. Is that right?
Honestly, I'm not 100% sure.
So I think he is. Let's open Kicker.de real quick. And Witzel should probably return and as a holding midfielder. But otherwise, I expect a similar lineup to the one that played against Bayern, to be honest. Hopefully,
yes, Emre Can is out for the next match.
Yeah. Hopefully, Gittins replaces Ranier because I don't know if he played any better in the second half, but Reinier was, I mean, he looked kind of absent in the game. Like he wasn't really negative, but I don't know. He's just like a ghost.
He's always like a ghost. I mean, it's kind of one of those where it would have been cool if it worked out.
Ghost, apparently.
Yeah, it would have been cool if it worked out, but obviously it hasn't. I mean, I know it's a 2-season loan.
Yeah, just like with Hakimi.
It'd be nice if Dortmund can somehow get out of it, because he adds nothing aside from literally being someone who's not hurt.
Yeah,
taking up space
and money. I saw. I think Marca was it that reported that the volume of this deal is about 13 million.
Yeah, over 2 seasons.
Yeah, over 2 seasons. Yes, but it's still a lot of money considering what Dortmund got out of it.
Yeah, I mean, given the hype behind him coming out of Brazil and the talent he does possess, 2 seasons, 13 million, you can kind of justify it. But now, based on the body of evidence, it's like, all right, can we somehow get out of this, please?
Yeah. So, Kobel might return.
Mm-hmm.
Doubtful. Same with Hazard. And Witsel is more likely to return. But otherwise, Hummels is still out. Dahoud is still out. Meunier, obviously. Moret is, he's going to miss the entire season as it looks. Reina, obviously, out for the season. And other than that, Schmelzer and Tigges and Unbehauen obviously also out. Now, we still have a couple of home games left. This one, and then of course the one against Hertha Berlin. Now, Marvin Hitz, I think, is likely to leave. I think that's been announced. He had his Instagram post calling the last Klassiker for him, and Roman Bürki also said that he wanted or was hoping for like a farewell appearance.
Which I think he deserves.
Yeah, I agree. So with Kobel being still doubtful, I actually wouldn't mind if one of the two would play in this game and the other guy then in the next game, because I love Gregor Kobel. He is our future, and I'm very grateful that Dortmund actually made the decision to sign him despite having a keeper like Roman Bürki, who's decent. He's not a terrible keeper, and St. Louis City are getting a formidable goalkeeper. But Kobel is on another level, and he will be the anchor behind the defense that soon will hopefully consist of Niklas Süle and Nico Schlotterbeck, plus whoever else is in there. Maybe we have to talk about Amos Pieper in a minute, because he's been linked. Former Dortmund player, now Bielefeld player, could join Dortmund on a free. Is this someone where you say, I'd rather have him as a free transfer over Zagadou? I don't know.
I don't know. That's a difficult one to say. I mean, Pipa, former Dortmund youth player, will be cheaper than Zagadou on wages. Bundesliga proven. Doesn't get injured as often. I mean, I guess if I have to pick between the two,
or Pongracic, he's also.
Oh no, Pongracic, get rid of him. No, no, thank you. That's a surprisingly difficult call. I mean, Amos Pipa obviously will never be a starting. If everyone's healthy, Pipa would not start.
No, obviously.
If everyone's healthy, Zagadou won't start.
Same.
I mean, Akanji is looking like he's leaving. But if you have Schlotterbeck, Hummels, and Süle, they are so much better and more reliable. That's the key thing than Zagadou. The only thing with Süle is obviously he can be injured. That's where then I'd probably lean towards Pipa, because if you're going to back up an injured player, I don't want to back up an injured player with an injury-prone player who, Pipa's, he's not a playmaker. He's not going to be the one who's going to play the ball out of the back. But apparently Zagadou's not capable of that anymore. So you may as well have just the guy who's solid, who'll clear the ball, and maybe on occasion clear the opponent.
I mean, look at Pongracic. He can be decent at times, and obviously, I'm sure people will make a mistake here and there as well.
Of course.
But I mean, he did go through the Dortmund youth ranks, and he knows the surroundings. And if he's happy with the role of being a starting center back for 15 games a season due to Dortmund's injury malaise, then then that's okay for me. I mean, that's ultimately his decision. His contract is running out, and he can go wherever he wants. But I think it would be a decent signing for Dortmund, especially to replace Pongracic, because we clearly need depth on that position. Hummels is aging, and his knees, his patella tendon and whatnot, you never exactly know how his health status is. Niklas Süle has a muscular injury all the time, and Nico Schlotterbeck, I don't know how his health is, but I'm sure once he dons the black and yellow dress that it will just decline from there. So I think Dortmund need to beef up on that position, and Amos Pieper, I think, has by now the CV to be the perfect guy for that.
Yeah, I mean, I can't disagree with that. Free transfer, you won't demand high wages, and that puts Dortmund in a different position also in terms of Zagadou and what to do with him.
Exactly.
Because if I have Pipa, I don't think I would need Zagadou, because Zagadou will demand more wages. He may already be on higher wages than Pipa would be.
Honestly, at this point, it's really a painful non-contract extension, because the amount of talent that Zagadou has and that he has displayed already for Dortmund, it's been insane. And if he can get it going, and probably at another club, I think we'll ruefully look back at not extending that contract. But that being said, it's really hard for him to find his feet at Dortmund, and I think he just probably needs a change of scenery. And maybe it's another Bundesliga team or wherever he lands, but I think there's a really good player in there, but we just can't get it out of him.
No, I think maybe going back to France, to a team that's kind of pushing in European competitions, Strasbourg or somebody like that, I think that would benefit him. Pressure's lower, competition quality is a little bit lower, and closer to home. I think that always benefits a younger player.
If I'm brutally honest, if I were Bayer Leverkusen, I'd be looking at Jonathan Tah and be like, maybe Zagadou is our guy. Because Leverkusen don't need the top shelf center back, because they're a team that bungles it all the time, and they should stay true to their brand. So if Zagadou can become a good defender there, then I don't know. That's a move that I personally could see if I were Leverkusen I would make, since it's a free signing, and Jonathan Tah to me is not a serious person, or not a serious player rather. He is a serious person, but that's maybe a gamble I would take. I don't know, just saying. But I also don't know what Zagadou's personal plans are.
Yeah.
So next subject, Matthias. My favorite one is Erling Haaland, still sticking around. Now, there have been reports a few months ago that there's this release clause that apparently evaporates on April 30th. Is it confirmed? I don't know. Is there any truth to it?
Couple of days.
I don't know. Yeah, it's soonish. So, obviously today is also a very interesting day. I woke up to a lot of people apologizing already for falsely publishing the death of his agent. So
that was so weird.
Yeah, just a regular day on your twitter.com. So Matthias, obviously the hope is that Erling Haaland announces his transfer now instead of tomorrow from a Dortmund perspective, because they want to replace him and they need that money, they need the bag to reinvest it. We haven't really talked about the MRI situation and whatnot, but your final thoughts on Erling Haaland as the season winds down, and hopefully by the time we speak next week, there's more news to discuss.
I wish him all the best. It was amazing to have him at Dortmund, and I hope for him and for the sport's sake that this doesn't become now a lingering, long-term, career-affecting injury situation for such a young, generational, once-in-a-lifetime type talent. And, you know, we'll see. I mean, obviously his form has not been great this second half of the season, also because of injuries. And then when he's played, yes, okay, granted, he scored 2 goals against Wolfsburg, but against Bayern, he didn't. He had opportunities, and it just didn't quite work for him. They weren't super high percentage opportunities, but we've seen him score those before. And so I think he's a young player. He's working on his form. He's frustrated with injuries, and I'm pretty sure he's frustrated by not knowing where he is going to be come July 1. And I agree. The sooner Dortmund can find out, the better. If it is true about the April 30th deadline, then I'd be okay if we didn't find out until the 1st of May. And that price doubles. Just because of the leverage Dortmund then have in terms of investment. But of course they need to know. But at this point, yeah, if that deadline is not true, well then, yeah, announce it whilst we're speaking here.
Right.
Just so that Dortmund have... I mean, everyone knows he's going, right?
Yeah.
But obviously Dortmund can't make a move until it is official. Until they know exactly how the money's coming together, where they sit financially, and who they can speak to. Because this is the double-edged sword. What if he doesn't leave?
I know, yeah.
And then you've spent 50 million.
Because of the, 300 million euro, dollar, pound, I don't know what currency package that him, his agent, and his dad are demanding. It is... You know, this deal should have already been done.
It's shocking. It
is shocking that it's not done. Let's be honest. He is a generational talent. He is, you know, he's probably going to be better than Robert Lewandowski if he keeps on that trajectory and does not have too many injuries.
Correct.
And, you know, there is not a player like him in the next, I don't know, 5-6 years or so. I don't think on that level of finishing and scoring. And there are very rich teams out there, like the Manchester Cities of the world. So I'm honestly surprised that it has taken so long. But yeah, here we are. Obviously, the haggling, you know, can continue for however long it can continue, because the next season hasn't started yet. But still, I think there was it in January or December, when Erling Haaland talked about, you know, feeling the pressure from Dortmund because they wanted him to make a decision or make up his mind in February. Well, now it's almost May and he's still not announced his next move. So the thing that this has been so drawn out has also seriously damaged his relationship with Dortmund fans, I think, because they are very tired of his whole spiel by now. So, yeah, it's less than ideal, and any client that's represented by Mino Raiola always comes with an extra touch of annoyance. So,
correct. Unfortunately, it's a lot of players.
Yeah, unfortunately. But here are 3 strikers that the Westdeutsche Allgemeine Zeitung wrote about the other day, which is Benjamin Zesco, who is 18 years old from RB Salzburg, is 1.94 meters tall in centimeters, and he scored 9 goals and 7 assists in 32 games, missed 10 games with a torn muscle fiber, so he's prime Dortmund material. His agent is called Elvis Bazunovic, and he met with Dortmund officials, I think, twice in recent weeks, including around that 6-1 win against Wolfsburg. So he is someone, who's playing together with Karim Adeyemi, obviously.
Yeah.
Then there's, of course, a prime target called Adam Hodgleck, or I don't know how you pronounce him.
I don't speak Czech, but I know who you mean.
Yeah. And he's from Sparta Prague. He's 19 years old. Also 1.88 m tall, 11 goals, 15 assists in 43 games. His agent is Pavel Paska, and also someone who was the agent of a certain Tomasz Hlozek, who is now the sporting director of Sparta Prague, and Jan Koller. So I think there are certain trails and connections we can make and say why this transfer for, I think, what, 20 million or so might very well happen. And there's also someone who I think has been reported stating that he really wants to go to Dortmund. And his name is Hugo Ekiteki or Ekiteki? I don't know. Ekiteki?
I don't know.
Ekiteki? I have no idea. But yeah, he plays for Stade Reims and 19 years old, 1.90 m tall, 10 goals, 4 assists in 24 games. Also price point around 30 million, 25, 20. So.
Ekiteki. Okay. There you go. From Reims. Yes.
Yeah. So anyway, I just listed all three before asking you about every single name. You have probably seen lots of footage of.
Oh, yeah, totally.
But most importantly, there's a pattern here, and it's that they're all 18, 19 years old. And they're all relatively tall. And I think when we talk about an Erling Haaland replacement, this is really where it's going for Dortmund. It's sadly for me probably not going to be Sebastian Aller, who might be replacing Robert Lewandowski. I don't know. That's a point we can maybe discuss at the end of the show if you want. Although I feel like now an hour in, we are pretty much at the end of the show. But Matthias, we've talked in recent weeks about Schlotterbeck coming, and number 6 that Dortmund might want to replace. But striker position is obviously also something that needs to be addressed. First of all, if these are the guys Dortmund are being linked with, how happy are you that these are the guys that Dortmund are being linked with?
Well, I mean, 2 of the players have played for me on Football Manager, so...
all right, so you're the prime expert.
Sesko is actually, by the way, if you play Football Manager, buy Benjamin Sesko. It's brilliant. He's going to score you a lot of goals. Obviously, I don't watch the French leagues. I don't watch the Austrian league or the RB Salzburg league. Or the Czech league. The profile is right. These are players, especially Zesco and Hlozek. However you pronounce it, Adam,
Hlozek or something like that.
That I have heard about over actually quite a few years, since they were like 16. And so they are a known commodity. They are a known talent. Now, are they Haaland level? No. But who the hell is?
Yeah, no one will be.
The amount of goals that kid was scoring at the ages where he was is just that's not human. That's not normal. But they fit the exact same profile. I don't know how they are in terms of speed, because obviously that's something where Haaland he's not only a big guy, he's also very fast. It'd be great if they could also be good in the air, which Haaland is not, just to kind of open up more possibilities and opportunities, because Dortmund do have a few players that can actually cross the ball decently. And so from that standpoint, I don't know. You throw in the age, you throw in the fact that it's a lower price tag, so you could almost go, why not get both of them? And
I don't know if Dortmund have that kind of money.
Well, I mean, if you sell Haaland even for 70 and you get 2 players each at 20, you have then maybe Adeyemi comes in, which is already being talked about. You have Donny Malen. already in the squad. You have a lot of versatility, but if you have that big guy in the middle, I mean, we're kind of talking like old school, number 9, but a dynamic number 9 like Haaland is. I think you can have a lot of fun. And if they are fast, and I don't know, but if they are, Dortmund playing into that massive counter strength, because if you even look at Bayern, I mean, Lewandowski isn't super fast anymore. I mean, he was never super fast, but he has enough pace, and he's just so good that when you have someone like Serge Gnabry coming in there, it just changes the dynamic. And Dortmund have that, but they know they have to replace Haaland. So if one of these has maybe not Haaland pace, but isn't just a static number 9 that can hardly move, then they're already winning.
You see, yeah. I think the one thing, you can obviously say that Haaland is already world class because of his finishing numbers. It's really hard to say that it isn't so, because he's in the top 1% easily. But what he is lacking, and if he really wants to be a top player, I think what he needs to improve a tiny bit is his first touch and his passing with his back to goal. Because there were a lot of counterattacks that he botched for Dortmund just because the layoff wasn't as crisp as it needed to be. And this is maybe one category where I hope that the next striker, and especially if it's like a Hlozek or so, who has more assists and goals, that this can change in the positive direction for Dortmund, because some technical skills are quite necessary, and especially looking at Dortmund's attack, which will be very fluent next season. I wouldn't mind it, to be honest. So this to me is maybe more important than the goal scoring aspect itself. That you have a striker who can play with the back to the goal and pick, can control a ball and lay it off. I think for Dortmund that opens up way more than if you just have someone who is
correct.
A number 9,
someone who can, if they can hold up the ball.
Service, yeah,
if they can hold up the ball, and then you have someone like Malen, Adeyemi, Gittins, and so on who can run off of that.
Yeah,
holds up the ball, plays it back to a Marco Reus who's there. You have the on-rushing, faster player. He plays it to him. He releases. I mean, it's basically the old pick and roll.
Yeah.
Basically. I mean, it's Stockton to Malone, essentially. Just if Malone was fast. But having that kind of dynamic, and I agree, that's what Dortmund is missing with Haaland, because Haaland isn't that player, whereas Lewandowski is that player.
Yeah. I mean, I'll be honest. I'm just hoping that Dortmund stay true to this profile, even if it's 20 to 25 million. A young striker that you can develop, I think, makes way more sense. Also, so that fans need to be more forgivable with their players, and the younger the players are, and the more raw they are, at least for a certain amount of time, they have that rookie protection, if you will, by the fans. And I said on the last episode, when Dortmund signed Nico Schlotterbeck, I will give him a long grace period, even though I think he's really good. But I also think that stepping from Freiburg to Dortmund needs some adjustment, and I personally will not be too harsh right away. And it's not a must-win title season for me next year. For me, it's more about team building, about tactical cohesion, and seeing a development progress over time. That's what I really want out of this team next season.
Agree.
Obviously, if Dortmund win the title, I will not complain about it. Far from it.
Any title.
Exactly. But I think the priorities, Jesus, should be more on a long-term build. And I think right now the pieces are falling together, and reading those names, Dortmund are linked with 1 million players right now, but I think Wessling is
even Julian Draxler.
Yeah, Jesus Christ,
not gonna happen.
Yeah, no, please.
By the way,
God, no.
Not gonna happen.
Yeah, but that's all I have to say on the subject. obviously, we can all watch the little highlight videos on YouTube and then dream up our preferred team. But I think you can suss together from all the transfer rumors and assessing which are more credible and which are less credible, that Dortmund will have an exciting team next season. I agree. Just internally, having Bino Gittens objectively adds excitement to the next season. Having Giorena back hopefully will add excitement to the season. And having Niklas Süle already will add excitement to the season because he's a big unit and he's gonna thump some guys, and I'm looking forward to that, honestly.
Me too.
So that's gonna make it more exciting.
And he's a very good central defender.
Yeah. So, we have not talked much about the Bochum game now, even though that's a very exciting game for Dortmund.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that because next season is also going to be exciting. But I will not be remiss, and I will say that VfL Bochum have completely sold out their contingent of away support. So there will be 8,000 to 10,000 Bochum fans in Dortmund this Saturday, and I'm really looking forward to that atmosphere because I said after the Wolfsburg game there was the first time Jude Bellingham won in front of a sold-out Westfalenstadion, but Lars obviously corrected me because Wolfsburg brought like 1.3 thousand fans. So, yeah.
It's close enough.
Yeah, still sold-out home crowd, but yeah, this will still be another experience for him and Gittens and whatnot. So I'm looking forward to this game. And maybe lastly, a scoreline prediction.
Sure. I will give it a 3-0 to Dortmund.
I'm saying 4-1. All right. I see from you gesturing that you're somewhat agreeing. I don't know.
Let's see. If Hitz is in goal, I'll concede a goal.
Yeah. Although Hitz is actually not that bad at keeping clean sheets, so we'll see. But yeah, it's time for us to sign off now, Matthias, because I've made way too many pronouncing errors already, and I do not want to commit any other. So please tell our listeners where to find you on the Twitter webs, and yeah, get the heck out of here.
You can find me occasionally on Twitter at Matthias Zug.
Very well. You can find me at Stefan Butzko. If you want to follow all of us, you can do that via Facebook or Twitter at Yellowwallpod. And of course, you can subscribe to the show via YouTube, as you can see here, or SoundCloud, iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, etc. I think I've created a link tree, so every possible podcatcher you can find via that. So there you go. As always, everyone out there, thank you for listening, and we'll be back with a new episode after hopefully the announcement of where Erling Haaland goes and a nice derby win, replacement derby win, if you will, against VfL Wolfsburg. And yeah, that's all from us.
You mean VfL Bochum?
Yeah. Goodbye.